Good morning. Gosh, so good to see so many faces here. As Jason said, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today, particularly at such a busy time of year. In keeping with the theme of adopt and accelerate, what I wanted to focus on today was where MLA is really accelerating some of our communication efforts. And I'll talk a little bit about the insights that guide what we do, both in our producer-facing comms, our industry-facing comms, but also, as Mick said, in the communications that we're doing to the broader community. MLA has a range of ways that we communicate with our levy payers and with our broader industry stakeholders. When we asked you earlier this year, we do an MLA member survey every year, and when we asked you how we were going with our comms to you, you were pretty happy. It was great to see, about an 8 out of 10, you said. You also told us, though, that more and more you're receiving your communications via digital channels, like so many of us, that you're using Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, of course. Now, that doesn't mean that we're about to stop producing hard copy publications like Feedback magazine. We know that's still enormously valued. We'll continue to be doing that. We know some of you prefer to receive your communications that way. But digital delivery will absolutely continue to increase, and you probably got a flavour of that from what Jason was saying, through our social channels, through our e-newsletters like the Weekly, through the hubs on our website, that are a great way to aggregate some of the content that we know that you're particularly interested in. And through My MLA, effectively our one-stop shop through our website for all our products and services, you'll see some changes, some improvements to that over the next 12 months. It's a real focus for us, where we really are looking to better target the content that we know that you're interested in because of your location and your interests. And digital comms also allows us to be very nimble and agile and to be able to respond when we need to important issues, such as recently during the concern about an exotic, disease incursion. Over the last year, we've been working closely with RMAC, with the National Farmers Federation, to be delivering webinars around preparedness, as well as additional communications, obviously through the website, again, as Jason mentioned, through e-newsletters, additional to what we might normally do, through social media, through our communications to the broader media. And as you know, sustainability, and you'll hear it a lot today and you'll see it a lot out there, a huge focus for all of us, the whole business, not just communications. But in our area, we've produced around 25 now of really powerful sustainability case studies. They capture the innovation and the practice change of some of our producers and also examples along the value chain. They've generated incredible engagement on social media. It's interesting, really, as we move into this online world. It's a bit like looking over the virtual fence, I think. But they've also been enormously useful for some of the international forums that we've been at recently. So some of these videos were featured at COP27 through some of our industry presentations because they demonstrate so well just how our industry can be part of the climate solution. But we know full well that when it comes to telling our story, telling that positive story to the broader community, there are a few headwinds. Our biggest collective challenge are not the people in this room, quite clearly, but the ones outside. The broader community, consumers, where the narrative about the red industry is not always totally positive. They're the ones we need to reach. We need to do it effectively, and we need to be really smart about how we go about that. So our communications to that broader community needs to be focused on insights, on really understanding what their concerns are, what are their particular issues that they have with us. For For the last 11 years, we've carried out community sentiment research. We talked to around 1,400 people, mixed ages, mixed locations, mixed demographics. It's very detailed, and I'm only going to touch on just a few of the insights from that. But for example, we know that around 30% of people are eating red meat less often than they used to. Now that figure hasn't changed a lot over the last 10 or so years, but it's still a high number. 57% of those say the reason for that is it's too expensive. That tends to be the older end of our demographic audience. 15% say it's because of concerns they have about our environmental impact, and about 15% say it's concerns about health. They tend to be the younger demographic. But it's certainly not all doom and gloom. Overall, the perceptions about our industry are really very positive. 60% feel good about the production of red meat and lamb in Australia. Now, of course, we want that to be even higher. And then it gets quite interesting. So about 30% think they know a bit about the industry, but about 48%, almost half, say they want to learn more. They want to know more about us, about how we operate, about what we do. And when they do know more about us, the research shows they actually like us a whole lot more. They perceive us to be more ethical and trustworthy, and they agree that we actually really do care about the environment. But the best thing is that the research says that the more they know about us and the more they like us, the more red meat that they consume. So the question is, of course, how do we reach these people? How do we tell them about the great things that the industry is doing? Well, one of the main platforms is MLA's Good Meat. It has a new website, revamped social channels, lots of very user-friendly content, and we fire that content out via our channels. We target particular demographics, ages, locations, and interests. We produce different content for different audiences, short videos of producers, because we know, also from the insights work that we do, that producers are one of the most credible, one of the most respected and authentic sources of information to the broader community. We use animations, we use infographics, all designed to package our positive messages into really short, bite-sized and engaging pieces of information. So, for example, those sustainability case studies that I mentioned earlier, we turn those into little short-form videos that we can then promote on social media to a more general audience. I'll just give you a flavour of that.
So I just love getting out of bed every day and seeing the abundance that we're bringing back to these farms and the life in our ecosystem, the health of our animals, the well-being and the morale of our people in our business, but doing that in a way that is underpinned by resilient agricultural businesses.
We are going to be carbon neutral at least by 2030, but our aim is to be a net carbon sink.
It's pretty simple. We sleep pretty soundly knowing that we are creating a better environment around us and that we're going to leave our land in better shape than we found it.
We wanted essentially to produce beef that is sustainable, and by sustainable I mean we could do what we do forever and it would not take any resources away from the planet and from nature.
As primary producers, it's really critical that we are caring for the natural resources which we manage.
Very important for us to work with nature and try and look after what we got. We try to make sure that the things we do on farm result in positive outcomes for nature, and if you look after the landscapes, you look after the land, well, the land looks after you.
We like to think of a feedlot as a five-star hotel. You go to a resort, you expect a five-star service, and that's what these cattle need to expect on a daily basis. Fresh, nutritious feed, ad-lib water, a clean room with customer service at your fingertips.
And I mentioned animations earlier, so sometimes animations can be really useful in turning what can be very complex science into really simple, accessible messages for a broader audience. And an example of that is the biogenic carbon cycle. Trying to explain the differences between carbon and methane is not always easy. So we do it this way.
We're told that cows are a big part of the climate problem, but are they really? It's true that cows emit methane, a strong greenhouse gas. But whereas CO2 from burning fossil fuel stays in the atmosphere for potentially 1,000 years, methane stays for around 12 years before it breaks down. So let's look at what part cows play in that. Cows eat grass, and methane is released when they belch, and also from their manure. After 12 years or so, that methane breaks down into natural or biogenic CO2 in water. The grass absorbs the CO2 through photosynthesis and turns it into carbohydrate. And the whole cycle starts again. Because of this cycling of carbon, if cattle numbers stay the same, eventually the methane produced by cattle will not contribute additional global warming.
But of course, when we're trying to reach younger people, it's one thing to get our content in front of them. It's quite another thing often to actually get them to actually read it or watch it or listen to it. We need to really work hard to grab their attention. So we've been developing, or the team has been developing, some very short animations to what we call stop the scroll. And I'm sure you've seen it with your own families where you just scroll. Well, we want to grab their attention and get them to watch something. This is an example of some of those. So one of the newer areas of focus for MLA has been our work with influencers. Now these are generally young, usually around 25 to 40 years old. They're into health, they're into wellness, they're into nutrition and sustainability. They have huge followings on social media, each of them normally several hundreds of thousands, some more. That's why they're called influencers. People follow them and they take notice of what they think and say. And they make money by partnering with organisations like MLA and creating content that's authentic to their own beliefs and their value systems and putting it out on their social channels. As with all our content, this is relatively new. Some of the animations are relatively new. We're watching it, we're measuring it, we're monitoring it, we're looking at the impact that it's having. Using influencers is proving to be a really effective strategy for us, for the industry, reaching over 5 million of that target audience, which we saw before, are the ones that potentially the meat reduces, and importantly, being parts of conversations where we just weren't there before. So we were just absent. We'd gone missing and we're starting to be a part of those conversations. Our animations, our videos also performing well, and we're starting to explore, as always, new channels. Lad Bible, the biggest social media platform in the world, about 1 million followers in Australia, so always testing these new opportunities. There's been a lot of coverage recently about how well or not so well agricultural industries work with schools to embed content into curriculum, particularly in the junior years. MLA's Smart Farming program is a bit of a jewel in our community communications crown. It's a program that actually enables students to engage virtually through a live stream with real producers. And over the last year, we've hosted 25 of these virtual classrooms. We've reached about 7,000 students. It's incredibly popular and it's growing. We're also shifting a little bit, not doing less of that, but also now working much more closely with teachers, because we know in that education sphere they're incredibly influential. And in 2023, we'll be releasing around 300 new resources to incorporate, or for teachers to incorporate into their lesson plans. So we've got a great story to tell, such a great story to tell. We've got evidence-based messages, we've got really engaging content, suitable for different audiences. And it's incredibly easily shareable. Out here, you'll find the pocket size, fits in your pocket. Red Meat, Green Facts. Encourage you to grab a copy of that if you haven't got it already. Our videos, our animations, our infographics, they all sit on the Good Meat website with our schools resources, the lesson plans, the posters, the board games, all very easy to access. And MLA is one voice telling that story, and we do it through our channels. But we need more voices. We need so many more voices. Over the last 12 months, we've been scaling up our ambassadors for the red meat industry program. So this is where we run skills workshops. We talk to some of the stakeholders that do these courses about how you engage with the community in an impactful way, using a shared values type of approach. How you play in social media without getting too burnt, and how you use some of these resources. We have now over 200 alumni, if you like, from that ambassador program, with the skills, the knowledge, the messages, and the networks, importantly, outside of our agricultural bubble. So they're really reaching out into the broader community. But imagine if all of us in this room, if the 700 who've registered today, if the 40,000 MLA members, if the 200,000 industry stakeholders, imagine if you were all armed with the evidence, the messages, the resources to help position the red meat and livestock industry into the future. We're in essential nutrition, we look after the environment, we leave it in a better place than we found it. We're part of the climate solution. We're making good progress in what we're doing, and we really do look forward to working with you to do even more. So thank you for the opportunity, and again for coming today. A lot of my team are here supporting me today. We'll be in that central area of the pavilion, and we really look forward to chatting later. Thank you.